the CRDC, George Mason University, in Arlington, Virginia. You are joining us in our video podcast, which is called Peace Steps, Paths to Positive Change. And my name is Marc Gopin.
My name is Aziz, and what we want to talk about today is the concept of being pro-Palestinian or being pro-Israeli. And to explain more to people who are watching us what I mean, let's watch some pictures and from it see what's the concept in the world about being pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli. See, in these pictures, you can tell that people perception is if you are pro-Palestinian, you're actually anti-Israel. And if you are pro-Israel, you're anti-Palestinian. And in our speeches all over, I think this is what we meet. People asking that question, but how can, as a Jew, I sympathize with the Palestinian? Or how can I, as a Palestinian, sympathize with the Jews or with the Israelis? Because I must support my own people. Do you meet that as well, Marc?
Well, yeah, and as you as a Palestinian, myself as a Jew, we've grown up in all sorts of circumstances with people who are so divided by war that they feel strongly that either you're one or the other. There's no such thing as being both. There's no such thing as caring for the other side and at the same time caring for your own, because that's a betrayal of your people. So people get really freaked out about this idea of, are you pro-Israel? Are you anti-Israel? Are you pro-Palestinian? Are you anti-Palestinian? It's one or the other.
A few months ago, I heard a speaker, Imam Hindi from George Washington University, and he said, I cannot be a pro-Palestinian without being pro-Israel. And I thought it was a very strong message, especially from an imam, coming and saying, they don't go against each other to the community. You actually can support both sides, because the goal is not for one side to oppress the other, one side win against the other. It's actually both are people, and both need to live in freedom, safety, security, equality, that both sides deserve the same thing. And we want both sides to have that, not just one side winning. Because by one side trying to support one side to win, both sides are losing.
Well, a lot of people don't feel that way. A lot of people feel that when I'm winning, you're losing, and when you're winning, I'm losing. And that's the question here.
Normally you see the propaganda, for example, you see the Israeli kids signing the rockets and Palestinian media, and you see the Palestinian kids carrying the guns and the Israeli media. To build that stereotypical idea of they are bad, they are evil, therefore I need to support my people because look, the other side is totally morally crazy, ethically crazy. We got one side is completely good, the other side is completely wrong and evil.
Right, and you need to show the pictures as part of making somebody either pro-Israel or pro-Palestinian. You need to show the pictures that are going to make people hate as much as possible.
Right.
And because they are out there, these pictures get the biggest play. You don't get the pictures in the media of Jews and Arabs hugging each other.
No, it's not sexy enough.
Not sexy, and it's not violent enough, and we've all been in events where we've seen hundreds of people dancing together, Jewish and Arab, and working together in a deep way, not just the superficial dialogue stuff, but really a deep way. You don't get those pictures in the media, but you will get a picture of an outrageous soldier who puts a proud T-shirt on about how he can kill, Palestinian women. And then at the same time, you'll get wonderful pictures of the children, of Palestinian children being trained in killing from the earliest of age, so that Jews can feel there's no hope for these people. The only way we can live with them is by keeping them down. And that's the only way, because from the time they're children, they're trained to hate and kill.
Right.
And this is these are like the photographic frames for pro-Israel and a pro-Palestinian, position and identity.
I think it's essential for people there to understand why supporting the other is supporting your own in the same time, because this conflict destroys the two communities in a different ways, but it really is destroying the two communities. Within the Israeli community, and having the corruption, the violence that's growing up, putting an 18-year-old soldier at a checkpoint and expecting him to really behave well is just an absurd idea, a crazy idea. In the Palestinian side, with the suicide bombing and for a while the culture really of death instead of life that started to grow, the corruption within the Palestinian community as well, and realizing how it's destroying these two communities in different ways. But there's no hope if we only going to support one side against the other, because there will be no winner. We all going to lose, both Israelis and Palestinians.
But it's very hard to get people to think that being pro something is not through violence and weaponry.
Right.
I mean, that's the best way that you want to show that you protect and that you care is by defense.
Mm-hmm.
Defense is built into all of human psychology, and especially male psychology, about how you show that you care for your family. You defend your family.
And that works for very short term, though. I mean, security can protect you as long as you have that. But in the long term, it will not make you safe, because it increases hatred, just like the wall. It increases hatred, it increases dehumanization, and eventually people are going to break out of it and the conflict will get worse.
Well, we call this in our field zero-sum thinking, or win-lose thinking, either or. Either it's you or me. And I used to think that this was something that was very primitive, and people who weren't educated felt this. And the more I've been in this work, the more I feel that this doesn't matter the level of education, and that this goes very, very profoundly. And I know highly educated people, PhDs, incredible scientists, and they still feel that in the end of the day, either they're going to kill us or we're going to kill them. And therefore, the only answer is defense, no matter how crazy it makes you. So one of the hardest things that I think that we have to ask ourselves is, how do you take those very legitimate feelings? I mean, if you were Palestinian in the last 100 years, why wouldn't you think the whole world was against you? And if you were Jewish in the last 100 years, of genocides in Eastern Europe before World War II and World War I, then the big Holocaust, why wouldn't you think that everywhere you go, either you're going to kill it or they're going to kill you? And either you're pro your group or you're anti your group, and that there's no in between. So there's a lot of damage here. It's not such a simple thing to take people with that feeling and move them to a different place.
Maybe if we switch our thinking or focus toward the maximized gain, what the two sides can get out of living together in harmony and freedom and security, what's the positive out of that? And trying to highlight and say, look, if we come to an agreement, if we can live together in peace, here is where we can go. We talked before about business, how much the region will prosper out of that. And we can bring a lot of examples how it's possible to really live in security and in peace and freedom together. And there are, as we said, many examples of people who are able to do it, of many of our friends who've done it. Maybe the goal is for us to highlight that work and maximize that work and bring more and more people as an example to the community and say, here's an example. It's possible between two people. It's not possible between hundreds of people. It's possible between the two nations.
Well, this is where I'd say there are two, I agree with you completely, and there are two aspects of it that I think have made a big difference in the past. One of the problems with any conflict like this that's gone on for this long and this much injury is that people feel in every fiber of their being that there's no solution. And it's very important to go back to, say, the German-French relationship, or the Irish-Catholic-Protestant relationship, and to help people understand that people felt just as strongly, for just as many good reasons, that it was impossible to fix.
And it was fixed.
And it was fixed. And the German-French relationship had been based on, there had been wars and killings and massacres for over 1,000 years. And Protestant-Catholic relationships, over 1,000 years of killing. So what are the two elements that turned it around? You mentioned one of them, and that is prosperity together. There is no question that the more that you and I work together to create prosperity, the more you create evidence on the ground of something that actually people can sink their teeth into and say, yeah, this is good for us, and I'm trying to figure it out, but it's good for them at the same time. In other words, instead of just saying, oh, you can be pro-Israel and pro-peace and pro-Palestinian, that's a nice slogan, but if you don't feel it in your guts, it ain't going to happen. And
since
you feel
our
it
time is running out, do you want to tell me the other one as well?
And the other one is actual relationships that are evidence. You bring people into somebody's home, and it changes them because they see, I can love this person, and I can love my people at the same time.
We all, eventually, all are human beings, and it comes back to that. I'm a person, you're a person. We have
Right.
more always in common than we have differences. Unfortunately, our time is up, and you're with us from CRDC, George Mason University, Arlington, Virginia. Thank you for watching us. You can learn more about our work at crdc.gmu.edu.